What's going on, guys? I am back with another deck profile. This time we're going to be looking at Fire King Tri-Brigade. I was asked recently to update this deck profile, and that's what I'm going to do. There hasn't been much changes. I thought I was going to add Promethean Princess and Amblo Wheel to this list, but it's just not consistent enough to justify putting it in. I think going for more of the Tri-Brigade stuff is probably the better play. So yeah, let's get right into it. First, we have our Fire King Ponix. This is the heart and soul of the deck. It probably is the best starter in the deck, but it combos really well with all of the other starters. And besides that, it's just a really good resource to have in rotation, so that you can use things like your Circle and your Skyburn to go ahead and disrupt your opponent. So then you have your Fractal. This is going to be the main card that you're going to use in the Tri-Brigade lineup to get to your Ponix. And that's also why we have the 3 Tenki. This is going to search your Fractal. So we want to max out on consistency right now. I always preach not having 3 of hard once per turns in your deck, especially like considering this is 6 of hard once per turns in the deck of the same card. But Tenki can also search your Arvada, Barang, or Hanuman, and it can also be used as fodder for your original Sinful Spoils. So it is a really good card in the deck, and the added reliability of seeing it more often when it's at 3 trumps seeing it at 2 and being upset that you saw it at 2. Then you have your 1-for-1. This is a really good starter in the deck too. Unfortunately, it requires you to send a monster from the hand to the grave. But it does help you trigger things like Tri-Brigade Kit, Nerval. It can help you get Garunix into rotation so that you can use it like a free discard. So yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Then you have your original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye. This card is essentially just another copy of Ponix, because you can normal summon any other card, any other monster, even a hand trap, and then go with original Sinful Spoils over it to special summon the Ponix, and then you play from there. It's not as good as Ponix because obviously you have to normal summon something, but if you do see it alongside something like Kit, Nerval, even Fractal, it can be very good at starting your plays and extending into further plays. Then you have your Tri-Brigade Kit. This is one of the best cards in the Tri-Brigade lineup, because if you see it alongside Ponix, it's probably the best 2-card combo in the deck. It gets you like 5 or 6 interruptions, something ridiculous like that. So yeah. Then you have your Nerval. This is a brick in the deck, but unfortunately if you draw it, it really disrupts your combos, so you have to play it at 2. So we play that at 2. Seeing it in your hand is not necessarily a problem as long as you have something else in your hand to extend, because you can normal summon it and then go into Salamangreat Great Almirage to then add something like the Kit or the Fractal. Then you have Karas. Seeing Karas alongside any other Tri-Brigade is full combo. Seeing Tri-Brigade Fractal alongside any other Beast Warrior Winged Beast or BBW is full combo. So by extension, seeing Tenki alongside any of those cards is also full combo. Seeing Tenki alongside original Sinful Spoils is ridiculous. It's probably just as good as Ponix plus Kit. So yeah, Karas, very good card. Very good with any of your other Tri-Brigades, but the reason we have it at 1 is because if you have it in your hand, it does not disrupt your combos at all. And in fact, you don't mind having it in the deck because it's very easily searchable. It's just a very good one-of to have in the deck. Then you have your Tri-Brigade Revolt, kind of similar to Karas actually. If you draw it, it's not bad because you can just use it without using your Bearbrum. If you don't draw it, you can go into your Bearbrum to then search it. So very good card in the deck. Banishing is a very good disruption right now, especially because you can banish something like your opponent's Fire King Island to then basically destroy their whole board. So then you have Fire King Garunix. This is insane at 2. It's good in your hand because you can use it to extend your plays further. You can use it to, let's say, discard off of Karas, and then it counts as a Winged Beast in the grave. And then you need the second one in the deck, because if you banish that, then you'll need to then further go into the Ponix play, and then go into your island and pop the Ponix to get the Garunix from the deck, and so on and so forth. Kieran, I dropped down to 2 because most of our first summons that would attract an Imperm or a Veiler are not fire. They're actually Karas. So almost every single first summon that's going to attract an Imperm or a Veiler is going to be Karas, because it's going to be the biggest neg. You're going to have to banish 4 from the grave, and you're going to have to discard 1 to summon it. So you're basically negging 2 from your hand and 4 from your grave. So insane value for the opponent. So Kieran is not necessarily great to have in the deck, but you do want to have it at least 2, because it's very good interruption when you do your Garunix combo on your opponent's turn. Then you have Arvada. This is basically necessary in the deck. It's searchable off of Tenki. It can be used as a normal summon because you can go into your Tri-Brigade stuff by discarding something else to special summon, so you don't necessarily need to use your normal summon for the Tri-Brigade stuff. So yeah, very good card. Then you have your Barong. This is necessary for playing around things like Nibiru, for successfully pulling off certain combos, and stuff like that. Hanuman. So this card is getting cut from most Fire King builds, and actually my Snake Eyes Fire King build cut this as well, because this is mainly for things like Evenly Matched, Triple Tactics Talents, Triple Tactics Thrust, anything that would be searched off of Triple Tactics Thrust. This card is really good at preventing that, because typically if you have it in your hand and you do your full combo, it ends up in the grave, and then when you do your Garunix combo on your opponent's turn, you can send Kieran to then summon the Hanuman and destroy one of their cards. So the Hanuman then can protect you from Evenly and Triple Tactics Talent, because that typically would be the first time you activate a monster effect. So yeah, Hanuman is very good in the deck. Do not cut in this version of the deck. Then you have Circle of the Fire Kings. This card is very good. It can actually help you extend, because it can summon something like a Fractal or a Kit from the grave to then help you use their effect to then go into more monsters from the extra deck. So very good card, good in fire decks all around, even in non-Fire King variants of fire decks. It's very good. I wouldn't cut it in any of those decks. Then you have Skyburn. Skyburn is not necessary, but it is a very good disruption. Setting it can be a very good cherry on top for all of your plays. And if you draw it going second, it can help you break boards, which is really nice. So yeah, then you have your Sanctuary, which is basically just here to search your Fire King Island. But it can also be used off of your original Sinful Spoils. But I don't like to do that, because if you do that, you don't get access to the Garunix Eternity. And in this version of the deck, he is kind of important. Then you have your Fire King Island. Fire King Island is basically a pseudo starter in the deck, so by extension, Sanctuary is as well. However, it doesn't allow you to Xyz on your opponent's turn, so it does lower your interruptions by like 2 or 3, but nonetheless, it is a very good card, and if it's outed, you want to have access to that second one, so that's the reason we play 2. Then you have all of your non-engine. This is going to be 1 Called by the Grave, 2 DD Crow because it's searchable off of the Sure Egg. Very good card in the meta as well. It can help you break boards. It can help you prevent your opponent from making boards, because if your opponent does like Flamberge effect in the grave and they have only 2 level 1s in the grave, you can DD Crow 1 out, and now your opponent can't resolve the effect. So yeah, then you have your Ghost Bell, similar concept, but it's not searchable. It can also protect you from things like Called by the Grave and Soul Release and DD Crow, things like that. Then you have 3 Ash Blossom. This is just bread and butter in fire decks at this point. It can be used alongside your Fire King Island to get plays started. It can be added back off of the Sunlight Wolf. You can just make a bunch of different plays around Ash, so highly recommend keeping it in the deck. I know a lot of fire players are cutting it because of the Hita line, but I don't recommend that because it's so impactful. Then you have Garunix Eternity. This is basically a staple interruption in the deck. You're gonna be relying on this almost every single time you go full combo. You can go further into the Tri-Brigade stuff, but I feel like it's less payoff for more resources. So I like relying on the Garunix Eternity a little more, especially when you have something like Circle or Skyburn alongside it, because then you can destroy it to then special summon back 2 more from the grave. And that could be something like Arvada and Hanuman to then have a monster and a spell and trap negate. So extremely good card. I would run it at 2 if we had the space, but we don't have the space, so unfortunately we have to run it at 1. Zelantis, this is going to be to send your Sure Egg to the grave and basically nothing more. It can help you break boards, but for the most part you're not really going to use it that way. You can use it as an interruption on your opponent's turn as well if they go into the battle phase, but that takes a good amount of setup, and those combos aren't necessarily the best combos to go with. So I typically don't end up in that situation, but maybe the way you play, you will end up in that situation and it'll be much more useful for you. You have your 2 Sure Egg. This is necessary at least 2 because you need 1 to search the Ponix and then 1 for your Revolt. So a lot of your combos require 2 of them, so you need at least 2 of them in the deck. It's very good for breaking boards. Your main combo does something like destroys 2 or 3 cards and banishes 1 as well. So yeah, Sure Egg is an extremely good card. It helps you break boards. It's a very good interaction against the meta because most decks are building against destruction, and this is banishment non-targeting. So yeah. Then you have Bear Brum. This is necessary for searching your Revolt and basically nothing more. So then you have your Fergie. This is necessary for special summoning either a Tri-Brigade or your Ponix if you normal summon the Arvada. So yeah, very good card in the deck. It's actually probably pretty good at 2. We don't have the space to run it though. Maybe you want to cut a Race Velger for it, but for the most part, I think having it at 1 is fine. If you run into situations where you need 2, maybe you can make a concession somewhere else. Then you have Race Velger. This card is really good in the meta. This card turns your Fractal into a really good board breaking card because you go Fractal, you discard your 3, you banish 3 to summon this, and then this can protect you from Promethean Princess because if they go Princess, you just banish it. And then from there, you go Link 4 into the Sure Egg, and then the Sure Egg banishes 1, and then you go Sure Egg into Zelantis, the Sure Egg searches 1, and the Zelantis can then banish all the monsters on the field and summon them back. And then depending on what your opponent is playing, some of them might not be summoned correctly, or they could be tokens or something like that, or you could flip them face down. So yeah, this card really makes your Fractal a good board breaking card, and I haven't done a lot of testing with it, but I have a feeling that it's going to overperform when I do test it. Then you have your Link Karibo. This is necessary for combos, specifically your Ponix combos. So 1-for-1, Original Sinful Spoils, and Ponix can all do combos revolving around Link Karibo. Then you have your Almirage, your Sunlight Wolf, and your Heat Soul, which all revolve around the same combo. And then you have your IP, which is very useful in general in the deck. You have your Appaloosa, which is basically your best target off of IP. And you have your Pit Knight Early, which is basically your secondary target off of IP. Or alternatively, you could summon it before IP in order to get more interruptions out of your board. Then you have Access Code Talker. This card can also be made off of that combo that I was talking about with the Fractal. You go Fractal into Race Velger. Race Velger can then banish the Princess, and then you go into Access Code Talker. And then Access Code Talker can banish the Race Velger to pop one of your opponent's monsters, and it's at 5300. So then you go battle phase, you know, swing for a bunch of damage. So yeah, very good card. Now let's get into the side deck. So first we have Dingirsu. This is going to be your alternative to Garunix Eternity if you're going against a deck that is really good against destruction, because you really, a lot of your interruptions are destruction, and you don't want to get caught in a position where you have to use destruction against your opponent in order to play the game further, because then you're playing into their hands, and at that point you've basically lost. So Dingirsu is good to substitute for the Garunix Eternity in situations like that. Then you have your Underworld Goddess. This is very good in situations against decks with Towers monsters. I know the Ad Ignister has a Towers monster. Pearly has a Towers monster. We really struggle against those Towers monsters. And you do run into them here and there. Honestly, I would think about putting it into the main deck instead of Access Code Talker and just put Access Code Talker in going second. But for now, you know, I would have to test that and see what I think about that. Then you have your Relinquished Anima. This is good for going second. And your Hita, this is also good for going second or for going first if you think your opponent is running the main deck Ash. Then you have your Droll Lockbird. This is good in the meta, but it's not great, so I would actually change this out for something like Nibiru or maybe Infinite Impermanence, something like that. Then you have 2 Triple Tactics Talents and your 3 enemy controllers. These are going to be your take your opponent's monster board breakers. Appaloosa is running around everywhere. That's probably the best target, but it's not the only target. There are plenty of targets to work with, so Triple Tactics doesn't target either, so very good for certain Towers monsters so that you can just take them and then link them off. And it's good at disrupting boards because you can, you know, look at your opponent's last card, or you can draw 2 cards to then start playing more. So yeah, very good card. I don't like card once per turns at 3, so that's the reason this is at 2, and it doesn't really help the deck out in any way. So yeah. Then you have your enemy controller. Same concept. I have it at 3 because it's not hard once per turn. Using 1 basically guarantees that you can use the second one, unless your opponent just has no more monsters, and in that case, you know, you just won. So yeah, very good card, very good for breaking boards. And then you have Cosmic Cyclone. This is good for back row decks and also decks like Runic that you kind of need to hit the fountain before they draw or as they're going to draw. Yeah, very good card in the meta, very good card in general. And that's going to be this deck profile. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I should change anything. Let me know if you guys have had success with this deck. Let me know if I missed anything. And that's it. I'm out. Peace.